Part 2, Mississippi Black Paper, Your Ancestors' Stories. The first part got a lot of people upset, and you know they don't know how to respond to these type of stories. So they'll say anything and do anything to report the video, to take it down. They don't like their history being shown to them. Some of them even had the nerve to accuse us of being the most violent people in the world, if not the most violent people in the country. I think I have proof that says otherwise. Let's get into it. Coahoma County. I am a Negro, 38 years old, and I reside with my husband in Clarksdale, Mississippi. I am a secretary of the Coahoma County NAACP, and on April 23rd, 1963, I was beaten by Mr. Blank Blank service station attendant. You remember, like I said in the first one, they hide the names. They remove the names of the people from these reports because why? You know why. I was beaten by Mr. Blank Blank service station attendant because I asked to use the service station restroom while they were servicing my car. He also refused to return my change, and because I refused to stop asking for my change back, this was an additional reason he began to beat me. Remember, this is a woman, by the way. He just jacked her for her change, didn't give it back, and when she asked to have it back, he beat her. This is 1963. After I returned home, I called the police officer A and reported the incident and asked that the officer A get in touch with me. About 50 minutes later, he came to my house with a warrant for my arrest for disturbing the peace and arrested me. I had to post bond in order to seek medical treatment. So this woman went to get her car serviced, was robbed by the racist white gas station attendant who wouldn't give her change, and when she kept on asking for her change back, he beat her. She reported the incident, and the police officer that showed up ended up arresting her for disturbing the peace. We're the violent ones. We're the ones with a wicked, violent history and the issue in this country. On June 8th, 1963, about 20 minutes to 1 in the morning, while I was in bed, someone shot into our house, and the bullet was recovered from under the piano. Officer B investigated the incident, but no one has been arrested. Vera Mage Pidgey. Let's keep going. I'm going to read 3 stories today. Like I said, I'm going to try to read 2 or 3 of these. And especially because I got the reaction that I got last time for y'all when those 2 white dudes in my comment section flipped when they heard these stories. Didn't respond to the stories, but just started going off. They just started, these stories irk their spirits. It really burns a hole in their spirits when they hear these stories. They don't know how to respond to it. They don't know what to say. The Edomite in them just kicks up and just flies out. They don't know what to do. All right. I am a Negro, and I reside in Clarksville, Mississippi. Hold on. This is it right here, not this one. This is another one. I'll read this one another time. This one's a little longer. I'm going to try to read shorter stories in this video. I am a Negro, 21 years old, Coahoma County. This is from Coahoma County. I am a Negro, 21 years old. On February 6, 1962, when I was 19, I was walking with a young man down the Clarksdale Street when Clarksdale police officers, blank and blank, remember, their names are in the initial reports. The people that made this book took them out. Why? I don't know. I was walking with a young man down a Clarksdale Street when Clarksdale police officers, blank and blank, stopped us and accused me of having been involved in a theft. I was taken to jail by the officers, and they forced me to unclothe and lie on my back. One of the officers beat me between my legs with a belt. A few minutes later, the other officer began to beat me across my naked breasts. Signed, Bessie Turner. Remember, we're the violent ones. We're the ones that have always been the most violent in this country. Isn't it a little weird that right after this era of white people being able to openly do this to us, all of a sudden their media goes hard in the paint, 24/7 propaganda telling everybody that we're the most violent people in the country. Okay, this is going to be the last story. We'll come back for a part 3. On February 28th, 1963, I attended a voter registration meeting in the office of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in Greenwood, Mississippi. At about 8:30, I noticed a white 1962 Buick circling the block. I checked further and discovered that there were no license plates on the car. At 10:15 that night, the car was still around the office, and I notified the rest of the office people that it was still there and to be careful. At about 10:30 that night, Robert Moses, Randolph Blackwell, and myself left the meeting to go to Greenville, Mississippi. The 3 of us first stopped at a gas station where we filled up the gas tank and got something to eat. We then drove onto Highway 82 going to Greenville. As we were going onto the highway, we noticed the same white 1962 Buick that had been driving around the office coming off the highway. There were 3 white men in the car. As soon as they saw us, they turned around and pulled onto the highway behind us. I believe they were able to recognize us because of our car had been parked in front of the SNCC office during the time they had been driving around it. When I noticed their car following us on Highway 82, I slowed down to 35 miles per hour, the minimum speed limit on that 60-mile-per-hour highway. I slowed down in order to let their car pass and also, if possible, to avoid being run off the road by them. When I slowed down, they also slowed down and remained behind us. They followed us for about 7 miles, during all which time there were many other cars on the road. At this point, there were no other cars in sight. They speeded up and pulled even with us. When they were right beside us, one of the men in the car opened fire with a submachine gun. He fired for about 3 or 4 seconds, and then the car sped away. I felt something hit me in the neck. I said, "I'm hit." Bob Moses was sitting beside me, grabbed the wheel from me, and then I slumped in his lap. Bob was able to stop the car safely. I was then taken and laid in the back seat. Randolph got into the back seat with me. Bob then drove to Ida Bena, which was the closest town. We knew that there was an infirmary at Mississippi Vocational College, which was located there. When we got there, there was no doctor present, and we called to Greenwood to have one set up. When he got there, he took one look at me and told them to rush me to the hospital in Greenwood. I had been shot once in the neck and once in the shoulder. When our car was later examined, 11 to 13 bullet holes were found in it. When we got there, when I was rushed to I was then rushed to Greenville Hospital, where I stayed overnight, and then to Jackson, where the bullet was still in me. A 45 caliber bullet was removed from my neck. I stayed in the hospital for 2 more days before I was released. At the time I was shot, I was 20 years old and a field secretary for SNCC. Bob Moses was also a SNCC field secretary, and Randolph Blackwell was the field director of the Voter Education Project, being run by the Southern Regional Conference. All 3 of us are Negro. Signed, James Travis. You guys, not all of you, but the guys in the comment section on the last 2 stories I read, did not respond to the actual stories. They don't know how to. All they know how to do is throw rocks and run away, as we've read. Very scared, very weak spiritual people. Very violent people. And just like the Bible says, they accuse us of everything. They make no account of anything that they've done to us, while at the same time portraying us to be evil and the devil, while they portray themselves as angels of light. It's very obvious why they don't like these stories being brought out. It's very obvious why they got so upset when I read the last 2 stories. These irk their spirits. It burns a hole in them. It burns a hole in what type of little soul they have. I don't think they even have souls. These stories need to be brought out. These are your ancestors' stories. Shalom. Happy Shabbat. I hope you have a great day. More to come.